Good evening and welcome to tonight's edition of Conversations with Taz. Just like last night, we have a lot to get into, but let's start with the story that we weren't able to get into last night, and that is Tesla and its rampant racism. And let's start with a tweet from Robert Reich. California's racial discrimination lawsuit against Tesla is a good time to remind you that Musk illegally threatened to take away stock options if employees unionized and has had 43 workers' rights violations filed against his company since 2010. Now let's get into this clip.
If you take the time to read the 39-page complaint filed on behalf of Tesla's black employees, you would be horrified. Tesla production associates and supervisors are accused of regularly calling employees the N-word. And when faced with complaints about the racist environment, some supervisors allegedly use their own racist language and retaliatory tactics. Now, mind you, this is not the first time Elon Musk and his company have had to address these claims of rampant racism and discrimination in the workplace. Last August, the company paid a former employee, Melvin Berry, $1 million after an arbitrator found that Tesla turned a blind eye to the commonplace use of racist slurs and failed to stop the employee's supervisors from calling him the N-word. The arbitrator found Berry's allegations more credible than Tesla's denials. Arbitration is what companies like to use to keep things hush-hush and on friendlier terms. And then in October, a federal jury in San Francisco awarded Owen Diaz, a black elevator operator, $137 million after they found his claims that a colleague repeatedly called him the N-word to be credible. The environment has reportedly been so toxic for so long that a class action lawsuit was filed back in 2017 against the company on behalf of 1,000 black workers. And joining me now is Larry Organ, founder of the California Civil Rights Law Group. He's a lawyer in all three cases that I just mentioned. And Jason Johnson is back with us. I think for a lot of people, and thank you so much for being here, Mr. Organ, it's shocking to hear that this seems to be an extremely open environment of both racism and retaliation. Walk us through what your clients were going through and tell us what the specifics of the retaliation looked like.
Sure. So in terms of Owen Diaz and Melvin Berry, they heard the N-word from the get-go whenever they were walking around the factory. But Owen had it directed at him over 60 times by two of his supervisors. There was racist graffiti, including the N-word, swastikas, and other things in the bathrooms that he saw as of the second day of his employment there. He complained numerous times, verbally and in writing, and Tesla took some perfunctory analysis, but they didn't do full investigations. They just didn't do the things that employers are supposed to do if you want to stop this. And most importantly, what really makes me mad is this statement about the thick skin by Elon Musk. If he had gone into that factory, this is a guy who said, oh, I sleep on the factory floor. If he had gone in from day one and said, I heard there's the N-word here. If you say the N-word, we're going to fire you. And then Tesla follows up and fires them. It stops there. But that hasn't happened. And that's what's so infuriating is that thousands of black workers have been called the N-word, subjected to all kinds of racist taunts and retaliation, as you pointed out in the DFEH complaint. And nothing is done to stop it. So very, very disappointing.
And, Jason, there's a bit of this sort of tech bro culture thing that I think is happening here, too. So just some of it to go very quickly. Tesla refused to attend mediation at one point when DFEH wanted them to attend. They were like, no, we're not going to do it. The same department found that black workers were being taunted, as we just heard. And then when they complained, they were said, well, they're aggressive, they're threatening, they would get in trouble. They would be accused of coming in late and saying, oh, we're going to, use that to sort of deny you opportunity. I mean, literally, it seems that the culture inside of Tesla was suck it up, and if you say anything, we're going to retaliate against you.
And here's the other thing, Joy. It's like Tesla, Elon Musk has this image of himself. He's like, I'm the real Tony Stark. No, he's more Dr. Doom, right? He's more vicious and mean and bullying. Because here's the thing. You hear about this with Tesla. Do you think somebody could get away with this at Ford? Do you think somebody could get away with this at Honda? No. The people who are there know I can act the fool in this particular environment. And when it goes up the ladder, nothing is going to happen to me. Some of these complaints are ridiculous. I mean, for someone to have swastikas and KKK in a break room, and it takes months for it to be scrubbed down, allegedly. For someone to be called the N-word multiple times, so much that they can count. You don't say I got called the N-word 60 times if you weren't counting past 23 or 24. So all of this really falls into his lap, and he has made it clear that as much as he wants to present himself as this cool guy, he is perfectly comfortable with a hostile work environment.
And then now they're moving to Texas, Mr. Organ. So talk about that, because, I guess it could be seen by some as an attempt to escape accountability by getting out of the state of California, where he is facing this pretty aggressive lawsuit, to what he might believe is a more permissive environment. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Owens' case was brought under the Civil Rights Act of 1866. So he may run to Texas, but he can't hide from the federal statute that found him guilty here. So I think that jurors in Texas are not going to be sympathetic to Musk's BS, and hopefully they will stand up to any kind of racism there. But I do think that the timing is sort of ironic. 3 days after Mr. Diaz got his $137 million verdict, he moves away to Texas. Kind of chicken, if you ask me. But
it could be. Tesla's response, by the way, to the class action lawsuit back in 2017, attacking you, it said, at Tesla, we would rather pay 10 times the settlement demand in legal fees and fight to the ends of the earth than give in to extortion and allow this abuse of the legal system. That was their response to you, Mr. Organ. Your thoughts?
Well, I'd rather be called an extortionist by Elon Musk for standing up for African-American workers than maybe anything else. I wear that as a badge of honor. So bring it on, Elon. No one here is scared of you. Me and my co-counsel, Brian Schwartz, we're fighting you in that class action. My co-counsel in the Diaz trial, he filed another case against Elon. So Bernard Alexander is his name. So, we're not scared. And,
Bring it, right?
it's kind of, I know it's
I'm not really shocked. Excuse me. I'm not really shocked by Elon's behavior. As much as he says that he hates his father and he's estranged from his father, this is the same type of behavior. They're basically the same person, minus the pedophilia and impregnating a former stepdaughter. Yes, his father did that. But no, Elon Musk is no different than the vast majority of millionaires and billionaires within the United States. They sell you a pipe dream that they pull themselves up from the bootstraps. No, he came from money. He bought out the people who actually came up with the technology that he is exploiting now. He cuts corners every step of the way and has zero respect for anyone that is not white. He even has strict stipulations for the women that he dates and or marries or has children with. You have to have a certain hair color, a certain weight, a certain this, a certain that. He's a certain kind of full of audacity, the Cassidy, if you will. So it's not shocking. It's not shocking at all. What's shocking is Black people keep going there to work. All money isn't good money, and sometimes you just have to leave people where they stand. What was the point of fighting to get out of slavery if you're willing to be treated as a slave today? But I digress. Let's get into the last one we couldn't get into last night, and we'll get into some fresh stories.
Nah, say it ain't so. 15 boxes of White House records have been recovered at Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort. I wonder how they got there. I wonder when they got there.
For all the Trumplicans that think that Trump is some great genius and he's so covert and all of these things, this man didn't even know that there was a national archive of records. He didn't realize that it was illegal to destroy documents while in the White House or to take them with him. And as long as he's been a grifter and a criminal, he still doesn't even do it right. There have been confirmed reports that he would rip documents in half that weren't supposed to be destroyed and leave them on the floor of Air Force One. And remember that infamous quote that he had, that we that live in the United States had to flush our toilets 10 to 15 times? That's because he was trying to flush documents down the toilet. It's also reported that he tried to eat a few. Yeah, you heard me. But even with all of that, y'all not gonna believe this next one. Check this out. Yeah, these have resurfaced, and people are minting fresh Trump coins to sell via Facebook Marketplace. The grift is real, the grift is strong, and I'm beginning to believe that a lot of these staunch Trump supporters that are now merchants, Trump merchants, if you will, they know he's full of it, but they're profiting so much, they don't care. They're going to keep pushing the lie. They're going to keep riding the grift wave as much as they plausibly can. Like, they're definitely fool's gold or rust. One or the other. But let's see. Here's a little nugget of information that I think everyone can benefit from, everyone that has a credit score. So pay close attention. Here you go.
Even one medical bill on your credit report that's bringing your score down, you need to watch this video. I'm about to share with you the most proven, effective way in credit repair to get medical collections deleted off of your credit report for good. The best part about this is that you can do this all yourself with just a few letters. The first step is to send this HIPAA validation letter to all 3 credit bureaus. Where it says name of medical here, you're going to put what medical agency that collection was with. At the bottom, you need to list all medical collections that you have on your credit report that you're requesting validation for. By sending this letter to the credit bureaus, not only are you asking for validation of the accounts, but you are also requesting them to provide you with proof that you signed a HIPAA release form for these individual companies. Step number 2 is to send this letter to the individual collection agencies that the medical debt is with. You want to send off both of these letters on the same day to all 3 credit bureaus and to the individual companies that your debts are listed with.
Get from back there.
Anytime you have a medical procedure done at a doctor's office or you have a hospital stay, you have to sign what is known as a HIPAA release form. That HIPAA release form protects your medical information from getting shared with third-party collection agencies. If these third-party collection agencies that are housing your medical information cannot provide you with your signed original HIPAA authorization form, then by law, they have to delete that account off of your credit report. There's a link in my bio where you can download these letters, or if you want me to do it for you, I own a credit repair company and you can sign up there as well.
Okay, hope that was helpful to everyone. Now, I know there are a lot of large creators that everyone loves and they do great work and they're very inspirational. They bring a smile on people's faces or they educate people. And then there are times that gets to their head and they take it a bit too far. And here's an instance where that happened. So please pay close attention to this next video. It was submitted by someone who is very concerned and would like our help in making sure no one else has this happen to them.
So this great Londini ass penis, he doxed a friend of mine, put his resume up on the internet, all because he said ACAB. He made a video talking about how the US uses police propaganda to make police seem more palatable and like friendly to us. And this dude doxed him and is trying to get him to take all his anti-police videos down because he said ACAB. I'm just going to let you know that all cops are bastards, all of them. Every single cop is complicit in a system of terror and murder and discrimination. Everyone. The only good cops are the ones who quit. Thank you. Imagine getting mad that somebody explains that the police have been used as a cudgel against black people for centuries and you get mad at them and dox them. Crackerman behavior.
Yes, so do be careful. And if you see anyone else get doxxed, please report them immediately. And do know that you can report doxing to the FBI through their site at fbi.gov. Just follow the prompts in the menu. It is very easy. I've had to do it myself, not a problem. Now, I'm sure you all remember George Zimmerman. Yes, he is back in the news. Here is the headline. Judge tosses Zimmerman's lawsuit against Trayvon's parents. Yes, George Zimmerman attempted to sue the parents of his victim. A judge in Florida has dismissed a defamation and conspiracy lawsuit former Neighborhood Watch volunteer George Zimmerman had filed against the parents of Trayvon Martin, the teen he fatally shot almost a decade ago, in a case that drew international attention about race and gun violence. Judge John Cooper in Tallahatchie dismissed all counts against all defendants in the lawsuit filed by Zimmerman against Martin's parents, Sabrina Fulton and Tracy Martin, attorney Ben Crump, who had represented the family, and others. In his order, the judge wrote that Zimmerman had failed to show any fraudulent representation and said any further arguments in the case would be futile. There is no claim for conspiracy to defraud if there is no adequately stated claim for fraud, Cooper wrote in the order filed more than 2 weeks ago. The other defendants in the lawsuit included HarperCollins Publishers, which had published a book Martin's parents wrote about the case, Brittany Diamond Eugene, and Rachel Gentile. According to Zimmerman's lawsuit, Brittany Diamond Eugene didn't want to testify that she had been talking to Martin before he was killed. So her half-sister, Rachel Gentile, pretended that she was talking to the teen before he was fatally shot. Gentile ended up testifying at Zimmerman's 2013 trial in Sanford, Florida. That is the epitome of Anglo audacity right there. The epitome of Anglo audacity. To murder someone's child. Get away with it. Auction off the murder weapon. Sign Arizona tea cans and Skittles for profit. Then, when all these profits dwindle down, gather up all the mendacity that you can fathom to sue parents that never received justice. And then sue the publisher that allowed the mother to grieve by writing a book about her son's case. Not specifically you, the case. Way to go, racist white people. Way to go. You always find a way to make yourself the center of a Tootsie Pop, won't you? Just always will find a way to make yourself center of a Tootsie Pop. Oh, child. I know when I was growing up, there was a saying that there's more fantasy in life than there is in fiction. Because if somebody would have said to 18-year-old me when I graduated high school that I would be living through fascism, a pandemic, and the resurgence of Jim Crow-esque propaganda and legislation, I wouldn't have believed him. Yet here we are. Yet here we are. I don't know. I don't know if I'm just adulting wrong or something. I don't know. Cause this can't be life. To go through all of this, fight so hard to make it to adulthood, for this to be it. Okay. All right. I guess that's what we're doing now. So and we have a little aha epiphany moment here for you.
Like a really ignorant aha moment, and steeped in my white privilege aha. They don't want CRT taught in the schools, because when the pictures start to become more public of the white grown adults screaming at children being integrated into schools, Little Rock 9, Ruby Bridges, etc., they're gonna recognize their family members. They're gonna see grandma in the photos throwing rocks at a 6-year-old. They're gonna see their family members.
And that's exactly correct. They're not worried about the comfortability of little white children, because nobody cares about the comfortability of little black and brown children. No one. When they make it seem as if our history begins and ends at the worst pinnacle of our history that was done to us. It's about them no longer being able to gaslight their younger generations. It's about them no longer being able to be excused by their younger generations. It's about their younger generations not being able to defend them in public. But sounds about white. But this next one, I wish, I don't even know how to prerequisite this. So here's the headline. Georgia state official wore fake pregnancy stomach to get paid leave from her $100,000 job. Colleagues grew suspicious when they saw her baby bump come away from her body. Here are the highlights. Robin Folsom, 43, said she was pregnant and allegedly wore a fake bump at work. She received 7 weeks off at the request of the father, Bran Atumbaway. Investigators say Atumbaway does not exist, and neither does her child. She gave him a very ethnic last name and a very first name. Okay. Folsom was on a $100,000 a year salary as director of external affairs. Don't y'all get vacation time? Like, you have enough money that you would have survived if you just want to take a couple weeks off. And how are you going to explain not having a baby after all of this? And what are we going to do with all the baby stuff that people give you? Because way back when I worked in corporate America, every time they found out anything, you get married, you have a birthday, you're having a baby, they give you cards and gifts, and you always have a work friend, a work wife, a work husband, something. But okay, here we go. A Georgia state official pretended to be pregnant to take paid maternity leave and even faked a baby bump and sent photos of her newborn to her colleagues, authorities have said. Robin Folsom, 43, was exposed after staff at the Vocational Rehabilitation Center saw her fake pregnancy stomach come away from her body and noticed her baby photos featured children with varying skin tones, investigators say. She's never seen an episode of Catfish, not once. Not once. And I watch a lot of true crime dramas, especially dealing with crazy women that go and steal other people's babies or fake pregnancies. And they already know whose pictures to steal. Like, they will find somebody on Facebook or something, and with every update, they'll snatch them pictures and be like, oh yeah, little Susie's walking now. But you'll just never have a play date with little Susie. And you made it to director with $100,000 a year salary, and you're this sloppy. You must have graduated from Trump University, and Ivanka must have wrote you a letter of recommendation. The director of external affairs was on a $100,000 a year salary when she made up a fake father by the name of Brian Atimbawe for her audacious plan to swindle $15,000 in paid leave, the Georgia Office of Inspector General said. Atimbawe emailed Folsom's bosses to say she was under doctor's orders to stay at home for several weeks of bed rest after the apparent birth in May 2021, after she had been walking around the office with a false bump. That is not... It's not how bed rest works. Bed rest is... Okay. And then everybody that still works in corporate America, things like that, they always have to have a doctor's note before they get has that changed? Has that changed? Like, y'all can just say the doctor told you to take off and... Okay. Questions about the legitimacy of the pregnancy started 2 months before the apparent birth, when a colleague observed the lower portion of Folsom's stomach come away from her body and believed Folsom wore a fake pregnancy stomach. Folsom then tried to keep up the ruse by sending photos of the baby to her colleagues during her time off after birth, investigators say. But they said the pictures appeared to be inconsistent and depicted children with varying skin tones. The high-level employee claimed to have previously given birth in July 2020, but the IG office found no evidence of her having ever had a child, and insurance records indicate no pregnancy or delivery at Piedmont Hospital. And I'm pretty sure she didn't add a newborn with a birth certificate, no nothing to the insurance. She didn't even bother to learn how. Okay, never mind. When quizzed by investigators in October 2021, Folsom insisted Atimbawe was a real person and the father of her child. She has now been indicted by a Fulton County. Did she think just by telling them that everything would just go away? How powerful do they think these white lady tears and lies are? Okay, hold on. She has now been indicted by a Fulton County grand jury with 3 counts of making false statements and 1 count of identity fraud. I think there should be more charges. The state employee resigned during the probe. I just bet she did. You can't go back to work after that. You can't go back to work after that. Like, no. Especially not as director. Because if anybody ever asks for a day off, you cannot deny them at that point. So, I swear. Now let's get into one that I'm sure you've heard of. Well, actually, let's run our latest ad first. I know most of you are probably already somewhat aware of this story from social media, but we're going to break it down just a little bit more. See you in 2 and 2.
Michelle? Well, Sade, this has gone viral. This afternoon, the governor of New Jersey talked about it. Watch the video.
This is after the fight on Saturday. The light-skinned high schooler sits watching while two police officers hold down and handcuff the black 8th grader, whose name is Kai. Kai is face down with a knee in his back, but the light-skinned teen is not handcuffed and, in fact, never is handcuffed. Governor Murphy weighed in.
I'm deeply disturbed by what appears to be a racially disparate treatment in the video.
This is the fight that caused Bridgewater Township Police to get involved at the Bridgewater Mall. The light-skinned teen is older. The black teen is younger, in 8th grade, and explains he was sticking up for a 7th grader friend who had been bullied.
They basically tackled me to the ground, and then the male officer put his knee in my back, and then he started putting me in cuffs, and then the female officer came over, put her knee on my upper back too, and I started helping put the cuffs on me, and while he was just sitting down on the couch watching the whole thing.
I had to watch it on mute. I still haven't watched it, listen to the sound. I know, I'm baby stepping my way into watching it, but it's just crazy.
An investigation is underway. Authorities are asking for any other video to be sent to them. This is what was said by onlookers watching as the video was recorded.
Yo, it's because he's black.
The Somerset County Prosecutor's Office and New Jersey Attorney General's Internal Affairs Office are investigating. The governor said progress has been made, but twice stressed. This looks disparate, unequal.
We have to let the investigation play out. The appearance of what is racially disparate treatment is deeply, deeply disturbing.
Kai's mother's request? She wants the police officers never again to work as officers and more.
To be honest, I want them to become unemployable.
Neither teenager was charged. The light-skinned teenager was never handcuffed. We do have a statement from the NAACP New Jersey State Conference. It states, "What is on video cannot be denied," and, quote, "When Bridgewater police saw two youths fighting, the immediate reaction was to aggressively throw the black child to the ground, knee placed around the neck area and cuffed behind the back." The statement goes on to say the light-skinned teen was eased into the couch, treated like a victim. The investigation is underway. There has been no update on the status of those police officers.
When do we start calling white people light-skinned? This is a whole nother level of a racial divide and gaslighting and pushing for racial tropes. And before you go and say that I'm assuming, according to the New York Times headline, two teenagers were fighting. Only the black one was handcuffed. A video of the fight at New Jersey Mall circulated widely online. Governor Philip D. Murphy said the appearance of racial disparate treatment was deeply, deeply disturbed. Now, further in the article, Zakai's mother said her son was at the mall with friends around 7:30 p.m. on Saturday when the white teenager started harassing one of Zakai's friends, who is in the 7th grade. Zakai defended his friend, she said, as other teenagers at the mall began recording the encounter with their phones. In the video, the white teenager, who is wearing a dark sweatshirt, jabs a finger near Zakai's face. Zakai pushes his hand away, then the white teenager shoves Zakai in the chest with both hands. Zakai stumbles back, then both teens start throwing punches as the crowd around them backs away. And see, what I don't think most people will catch, it's believed that this white teenager is of Hispanic ethnicity, which is fine. But when it comes down to it, we know how these things go. The next argument that comes about with race, especially since race has become such a vocally hot topic again, and we have white comfort legislation popping up from coast to coast, this is going to go and further push forth the trope of black on black crime by saying it was a black child and a light-skinned child. Because if you know what light skin is, it would have been, oh, it's a light skinned child and a dark skinned child. You could have just said 2 black children. They weren't 2 black children. Yes, the cops need to be fired. They need to go through the same scrutiny that firemen go through. Because all of these, I guzzled a glizzy of the military and I wasn't worth shit in high school and I was bullied in high school, or I peaked as the captain of the football team, motherfuckers do not need to carry a badge. And I would guess to ponder 90 to 97% of them don't even know the law, like at all. It's utterly, utterly ridiculous. Alrighty. And unfortunately, we have another case of doxing. But this from someone you may expect this from, or you might not. Depends. But here we go.
If you thought Greg Locke's witch hunt was fun, wait till I tell you about the pastor who's been threatening healthcare professionals at a local hospital here in Oklahoma. This is Daniel Navejas, and he leads a hyper-conservative faith group called the Ecclesia of Oklahoma. So this past week, one of Daniel's church members was in the hospital with the virus. The man's condition worsened. They began picketing outside of the hospital, demanding unfounded treatments. They even began saying things like the hospital wanted him to die because they received financial incentives from the government. Sadly, the church member did end up passing away. So what was Daniel and his church's response? They began doxing the doctors and nurses who were involved with this patient's treatment, and then they began threatening them online. As the husband to a trauma nurse, this scares me to death. Hey, Danny, you and your cult need to go back to sipping your horse dewormer and leave these heroes alone.
Imagine causing the death of someone. And instead of taking responsibility for it, you hide behind your religion and your power as a minister to intimidate people. Like these crazed, cisgendered, straight presenting, straight telling us, white male evangelicals are all walking into the realm of Jim Jones here lately. It's, you have Pastor Locke calling people witches as a way of intimidation and keeping people from speaking up. And now this. I just, once again, there's no hate like the love of a Christian, right? Well, here's an interest. I can't talk all of a sudden. Here's an interesting one.
Gotcha. So in order to be part of canon, they have to be white. Got it. Okay. Why don't you just pretend that they're white? You know, like how we pretended that he was Arab, or how we pretended that he was Asian, or how we pretended that he was black, or how we pretended that he was Mexican, or how we pretended that he was Asian, or how we pretended that he was Spanish, or how we pretended that he was indigenous, or how we pretended that she was indigenous, or how we pretended that they were Egyptian, or how we pretended that all of them were Latinx, or how we pretended that they were Puerto Rican, or how we pretended that she was Afro-Cuban, or how we pretended that she was Tibetan, or how we pretended that he was Persian, or how we pretended that literally all of them were Middle Eastern. I could do this all day.
It is amazing that people can believe in fantastical things and they're okay with elves and dragons and teaching dragons to be dragons and princesses that can freeze the masses, flying wood nymphs, but not if they're black or brown. And especially not if they're black and brown and with power. Because if, they're not subservient and they're black or brown, that's just not going to do. Because, as much as they weaponize yeasty Jesus, nobody has a problem with a man born in the Middle East that hid on the continent of Africa being white as the fresh fallen snow. Because, that makes perfect sense. I mean, that takes being colorblind to a whole nother level. Okay, I do not know why this will not let me load the last videos. Hold on, I'm going to try to refresh over here. Okay, I am back. Hopefully that fixed our little snafu. Okay. I guess not. I guess tonight's just not going to let me add anymore. Well, that's okay. Still have one. There's just a few left. The ones that won't let me load tonight, I will make sure I cover them at the very beginning of tomorrow's episode before we get into all of the blind reacts, all the ones that have been sent in thus far. You do still have time. You have until 3 p.m. tomorrow Eastern Standard Time to send anything that you want reacted to or you want discussed. But remember, we're going to try to keep it a little lighthearted because this week has been a doozy. But as we end out today's show, y'all, Candace Owens was caught acting not very Candace Owens. Well, circa Trump years, Candace Owens. She forgot. She forgot that's what she was supposed to be doing. So, here we go.
Candace Owens had some thoughts about the halftime show, and apparently the thoughts led to her own audience members turning against her, writing the following. This is an excellent Super Bowl halftime performance. Undeniable hip-hop and rap R&B excellence. She forgot she allowed her real self to leak a little bit in her commentary on Twitter, and her fans were not about to allow it, okay? So they fought back. Here's a few examples. Worst ever. And like usual, the NFL has to push the diversity crap, but yet there's no diversity. Maybe a rock musician and a hip hop artist, each one doing a performance, then let the crowd decide who gets the biggest cheer. And then another person wrote, it was disgusting. Our young children couldn't watch such vile crap. Okay,
what were they watching?
No, but it's
That's insane. They were all perfectly clothed. They couldn't be more clothed if they tried. I mean, were they like weirdly turned on by Snoop Dogg? They're like, oh, nice blue and yellow. What outfit did he's wearing? Wow, sexual. What are you guys talking about? We don't even know what you're saying.
In an effort to pander to her audience, she said, loved Luke Combs singing country music at halftime during the Thanksgiving Cowboys game.
She had to look that up.
I don't know who Luke Combs is. I also Happen to love Dre, Mary J, and Kendrick Lamar tonight. I grew up loving both hip hop and country. Politics doesn't dictate who I am and what I like.
Look, when your whole job is to be a black person hating on other black people so that racist whites can get off, well, look, keep up. Keep up. I mean, if you even say a black person is doing something good for 1 second, of course your fans are going to hate you. Remember why you made all the money, Candace, and shut up and do your role as your audience demand.
Precisely. Candace, and this is the second time, well, the first time recently, somebody dug up, I guess it was a tweet from like a year and a half ago where she was actually defending vaccines, but I digress. But, you know, Candace, you can only pretend for so long, and then you have to come on home. But in my final thoughts, as I stated, the few videos that we weren't able to cover, that I wasn't able to cover tonight, I will cover before we truly kick off Freeform Fridays tomorrow. But I do want to leave you with this, because so many people are having so many jokes regarding Kanye West and trying to give him a pass, saying that this is a mental health issue and everything else. Does he need counseling? Does he need help? Yes. But that is not an excuse for the toxic, narcissistic, and abusive tendencies and behavior he is presenting. If Kanye West was not a millionaire and was not a celebrity, and people were not awaiting his next album, and if he wasn't attached to the Kardashians, people wouldn't be making a joke that this is just a publicity stunt that was yielded by Kris Jenner. Now, have the Kardashians been known for publicity stunts and calling the paparazzi and making a big scene and flipping everything into a next check? Yes, but this is dangerous behavior, and there are children involved. So before you engage in the back and forth from the hee hee ha ha and the jokes regarding this, remember there are real life men, women, non-binary individuals, and children that are living in fear right now. And for the love of all things holy and sanctified in this lifetime, when someone expresses to you their experience, or they have to get to the point where they have to post their experience online in order to document plausible physical harm or even death, stop telling them, oh, they would have been dead. Oh, just get a gun. No, because what if that person takes the gun from them? And stop acting as if you are above being abused yourself, that there's just something so powerful in you that somebody won't two-piece you to the face. And I mean that with no disrespect, but stop. Any and everyone can be susceptible to abuse. It does not make you weak. It makes the other people weak because they had to resort to physical force to keep you around because they are so deprived in themselves that they cannot survive without you. But as much as everybody wants to be an online comedian, this Kanye Kim situation is not a joke. This situation could have been resolved months ago. Kanye could have signed a piece of paper and they both could be single right now and then divvying up their assets. And while he's now trying to play to the feelings of the LGBTQIA plus community and to Black women, people he has disrespected for eons. Because when his mother died, he showed us that was the one and only Black woman he ever had respect for. And before y'all sit there and go, Amber Rose is a whole white woman. She's not even blackfishing. Y'all are blackfishing her for your contentment. But as always, thank you all for joining me. I will see you all tomorrow for Freeform Fridays. And as always, always, always lovelies, each one teach one, each one reach one.